Hi, I'm Saren.
And I'm Ray.
We're your Spider Baby hosts from To Know Her Is to Fear Her, a Spider-Woman podcast, as well as proud members of the collective.
You're listening to Capes and Lunatics. Gimme, gimme.
Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to make sure you know all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on all new episodes of Wade's World, Boob Windows and Long Boxes, our Hard R movie reviews, and so much more, all completely uncensored. Access starts for as little as $1 a month, full videos when you pledge $3 a month. Check us out at the link in all of our show notes, or just go straight to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Hello and welcome, dear viewers, once again to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, Professor Esser. Not eligible for the Professor Jeopardy rounds coming up soon. And with me, as always, is my good friend, the blue-eyed bomber from the Burger Pits.
Phil me and Perich.
Yes, Philip. So glad to see you. So glad to talk to you about so many things. Just playing with my new toys. I have a wingless wizard.
Of course.
Bentley Whitman.
Mm-hmm.
Bentley Whitman. And of course, Deathlock. You know, I actually wrote a song about him in high school.
Oh.
And it is something I love. Which I will not sing to you right now because I realize I don't remember exactly how it starts. I know the chorus, I know all of its key lines, and so many great aspects of it. And it was this very dark and brooding ode to Deathlock, which I only knew from the handbook. So it's like the entire song is based on his handbook entry. But that's why I have a love of Deathlock. So he is one of my favorite Marvel characters, even though I've actually probably read only like a couple books that he's ever been in. And Deathlockette is actually super high on my list of things. Of course, Bentley, but these were in the $3 bin at the comic store this week, and so I was very excited. So I got them both, $3 each, and I give them to my son to play with. But they're really mine and mine alone. All right. But I also like that they were very articulated, which I knew my son would be very excited by, because an articulated toy means better posing for various animations. Anyway, Philip, did you catch the season, not series, finale of Loki this week?
Of course I did.
Yes, and that's the big news right now, because apparently Loki has achieved some level of greatness, without a doubt. His glorious purpose has been fulfilled, although actually I should say her glorious purpose has been fulfilled. Because the ending, I think, is a bit ambiguous for the viewer at home, and of course intentionally so. We do see that we have our timeline splitting, and we certainly see Sylvie exact her revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge on the timeline. But,
and the one who remains.
But, you know, his whole point being like, look, I know I'm awful, but trust me, there's something worse out there.
His variance, yes.
Here's an interesting aspect of that I think a lot of people forget. Because, yes, he says there's someone worse. But his actual original story was he was one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that there were many good versions of him. But the evil versions of him are who caused the war. And he was just the one good version who could end the war using Alolith. And,
I've been called many things. Conqueror.
Yeah, we just call him Immortus.
Okay.
That's the thing. No, he's not Kang.
Well, this one was Immortus, but no, one of his variants is Kang.
And as he says, and there will be another one who will be another Immortus. Like, it's like, you can kill me, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't end me. that doesn't end me in your eyes. It's like maybe it ends me in my eyes, but the fact of the matter is my eyes will continue in other variants, and, this doesn't end, that the universe is in this constant state of quantum flux and expansion. And here's the thing, so, by the way, spoilers for Loki if you haven't seen it yet. I don't know when this comes out, but it was like 3 days ago, kids. So hopefully you've seen it by now. I don't know if you wait till Saturday morning to watch it with the kids with popcorn, but in that case, this probably won't even be put up until sometime Saturday night. So then,
really, I mean, this will go up on YouTube, but it won't hit the podcast till Wednesday. So if you're just listening on the podcast, it'll be a full week. So come on.
Yeah, so really, you guys should be aware that we spoil Loki, because we've been spoiling Loki every episode.
Hey, it's been a few days.
For the last several episodes.
I mean, I could go on Twitter or something Wednesday mornings, and I can get spoilers.
Well, true. But that's the thing. It's you should avoid them if you're someone who wants to avoid things.
Yeah.
And but so here's what I'm going to say: when Loki goes back to the TVA, and it's a different TVA. And the question is, what does that mean? And I think there's an answer to that, which is that Sylvie took over the TVA. Or one of two people took over the TVA. Either Renslayer took over the TVA with the myth of Kang, or Immortus. And we'll see what they call him in season 2.
Well, at the end, wasn't that a statue of either
well,
the
that's
one
it.
who remained or Kang? It was
the statue of Bill Cosby.
Yeah, it was somebody who looked like him. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, that's my thing. Is that I go back to this Bill Cosby, but he does this guttural thing that was kind of Bill Cosby's trademark, and we know it. Have you ever talked about the pudding pops and he's doing that aping of that Bill Cosby style back when Bill Cosby was cool and was just a funny guy and was just crazy. And perhaps even showing his own underlying darkness and control fetish in it. Like his choice to ape Bill Cosby in these scenes, as he's trying to say, I'm just a nice guy. I'm just your friendly gynecologist. Here, take this. It's going to make the examination go a lot better.
I wonder if he was playing it as Goofy, but with a dark side, and then when he does show up as Kang, he's going to be brutally serious, and there's not a hint of humor in him. Yeah,
I'm just hoping we get a Rama Tut in the whole thing, where he's just totally Squire of Gothos, and just dance, everyone, dance! I decree it. I am Rama-Tut.
Unless they're saving that for Fantastic Four.
I could see that. We're going to have to see what happens. Sorry, I didn't put my mute on before I coughed. I should do that because I have a button I could push right here to mute. But talking in that fancy voice, it can be sometimes hurtful to my larynx. But, but the idea is that when Loki goes back to the TVA, it's now a different TVA. But the TVA exists outside of time, so how does that work? Well, because time passes differently in the TVA, they have lived for millennia, cycling and cycling and cycling through. And there is some concept of passage of time, because we see that Ravina Renslayer starts off as a hunter and becomes a judge. So the idea that, people can move positions and rise in ranks and things of that nature is something that occurs for the beings in this world. But exactly where they're going with it suggests that maybe this is just the same TVA. Everything's the same, but it just is in its own loop. It's in its own repeating. And in this repeating, when Ravana goes back, she goes back to build her own TVA, which makes sense because, as you will recall, Ms. Minutes gives her files that weren't the files she asked for. And Ms. Minutes is like, no, but he thinks these would be more important to you, which means Ms. Minutes, at the end of the day, is going to be the clockwork being controlling everything. at the end of time.
Or two, all the agents are variants who had their minds manipulated. I mean, couldn't they have just wiped everyone's memories again?
I mean, it could have been just that, but I actually think that there is a deeper story to be told into why. Because as many people had pointed out, it's not just that he doesn't know who Loki is, it's that he does not recognize what a Loki is.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've seen that Mobius has faced many a Loki over the years. So why this Loki is not a Loki is important to him. It's important to the story. It's not a Loki, which means maybe this is a universe where there are only Sylvies. And we'll have all the Sylvie variants. Maybe we're going to get Dame Judi Dench to be our old Sylvie. It says, oh, you Sylvies never understood the real power. It is in our magic.
Or unless it's a universe where, like, Loki died as a childhood and never took him in, or who knows?
Anything's possible.
Yeah. Or maybe that was just a contingency thing. Maybe if the one who remains, if he's like, you didn't tell them, maybe he's like, oh, yeah, if I get killed, no one's going to remember you.
Or it's just the idea that everything gets wiped and everyone's back at square one. Everyone knows they're supposed, and for what it's worth, there's a quality in that last scene where, Mobius is looking at B50. I can't remember if it's B15 or B50, but is saying to the main hunter, what does he want us to do with all of this? What does he want us to do with all these? Which actually suggests that they're kind of like at this spot where oh yeah, they know something's wrong, but they really have no idea what they're supposed to be doing with all of this. They don't know what the protocol is, and when Loki shows up, maybe that's the point, is that the Loki is going to be here to give the guidance for the TVA now that they've been sort of set back to first marks. It's a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be, the one who remains was like the passive one. He's like, yeah, hey, you want me to just give you the Infinity Gauntlet? You got the Infinity Gauntlet. You beat Thanos. It's but since Sylvie killed him, now we're going to get like a more aggressive version, probably Kang.
Well, I mean, the idea is that it's not so much what the single timeline is, just that there needs to be a single timeline.
Too late.
Because the idea is that if there's a single timeline, then there aren't multiple. And really, that's the argument. It's like, if we allow for the multiple Kangs, the multiple Immortuses, the multiple Ramatuts, the multiple Iron Lads, because that's the thing. Every single thing we've gotten so far has suggested a young Avenger. So, Falcon Winter Soldier gives us Elijah Bradley, the Patriot. WandaVision gives us Wiccan and Speed. This one,
Hawkeye's going to give us Kate Bishop. Yeah,
well, in Hawkeye, and again, which was in Black Widow, we get the suggestion of Hawkeye, which we know will lead to Kate Bishop, and then we get this one where, even though it's not given to us, we know Iron Lad is one of the Young Avengers that's going to come back, because he's going to be a variant that's trying to avoid being pruned. And it becomes this reality that, isn't that an interesting concept, that all of Phase 4's first releases deal with the Young Avengers in some way or another, suggesting, well, not introducing the Young Avengers, kind of. So if you think about this historically, what was supposed to happen, first thing we were supposed to get was Black Widow. That was supposed to be the first kickoff, which would lead to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which gives us Elijah Bradley. So in that we get the hint of Hawkeye, which alert readers would know means Kate Bishop. Then we get, and there's Elijah Bradley. And there's Wiccan and Speed. And now here's King. Wait, but that suggests essentially in diminishing returns, we get all of the members of the Young Avengers coming one by one by one. But in sort of a reverse order, where the first one is implied but obvious. The second one is clear but removed, but maybe not. And the third one, so the first one is the implication, the second one is the obvious, the third one is implied, but then reverse, and the last one we don't see, but we know they're coming. It's making us build the story for ourselves, which, of course, is what all fan popular programming relies on, is our building of what's coming next. So I think if you think about it in the original intended order, the arc is kind of clear, but I think the arc is much more clear the way we got it. Where we get our Wiccan and Speed, we get our Elijah Bradley, and then we get an implication of Kate Bishop, and then just the suggestion for those who know of Iron Lad, and that's our Avengers. That we don't have a Hulkling yet is interesting, but I'm waiting to see what we're getting soon. Probably in Secret Invasion, or maybe in What If. What If is coming, Philip.
Yep. I mean, Hulkling could show up in Captain Marvel too. I think they're calling the Marvels.
Yeah, the Marvels. It's called the Marvels. We got all three Marvels, including Ms. Marvel, which is going to be interesting. We're going to see how they square the circle of her origin.
I mean, she's not in the comics, but I wonder if they would add Miss Marvel to the Young Avengers MCU.
I mean, they could.
I mean,
they could make her. I mean, you know, or they'll have her form her own champions, and then we're going to have 2 franchise films. You know, the goal in time, Phil, is assembly line production, so that you actually have every month a tentpole, every week everything falling into line and everything going into this. So the idea that this month is an Avengers film and next month is a Champions film, and then it goes to each individual character's film that's going to build to our next arc. Then we'll see who goes into the Champions, who goes into the Avengers, and who goes into the Defenders.
They probably want to hold off on Champions just because they would have to probably make another deal with Sony for Miles Morales.
That is true. Although they could do it without him, you know.
Yeah, but
honestly, really, he lifts right out. He's like Phoebe.
It's like it's one of those things. They make the Champions without him, and then 6 months later they get the rights to Miles Morales. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, but they could do the Defenders again, and they still have the Defenders, and they still own the rights to all of that. That's one thing I always say about the Marvel Legends content is it all exists. And they haven't stepped on it yet. No one is trying to say none of this happened, none of this is real. In every essence, they've said, you know what? It's okay. We got this. It's there. It's something. We're just not talking about it yet. And if we get to it, maybe we'll reference something, but it's a big universe. It's sort of like the idea that, when you talk about things, it's like, oh, they're the Guardians of the Galaxy. Which means, oh, you're part of, that one star cluster over there in the far corner. And the rest of these 80 gagillion star clusters across all of time and space, you don't guard those? Like, nope, just this one. We like to be local. We feel that local guardianship is important when we're crossing 3 billion light years of space. Yeah, we think that's the area that's what's reasonable to cover. But one galaxy, we can see other galaxies from this planet. We know there are other galaxies, so not really that impressive as a thing that you're worried about this galaxy in the universe. And it's always surprising that no one ever really approaches that question in fiction, because I don't think the human mind can comprehend that idea of something that could span the universe. It's like people will say that, well, I'm the king of the universe, sort of like how Miss Universe says she is Miss Universe. And all of her contestants are from one planet. Now, arguably, the only planet with sentient beings, so fair enough in that sense, but I don't think they did a double-blind study to confirm that. That's all I'm saying. Okay, want to talk comics, Phil?
Sure.
Want to talk Batman Zero Point, the best DC book out there that no one reads, and except for me and Tristan, except Tristan didn't read it this week, Phil.
Sure, go ahead. Is that number 6?
It was, it might be number 7, I'm not sure. Don't see you see, they hide the numbers nowadays. Oh yeah, number 6, there it is. There's the 6, it's big right here. Gotta look for it, man. I like the olden days when they had a little, like, square here.
Yeah.
With a little picture. And they had, like, all the details here. They had a comics code, and this is number da-da-da of this group. And, you knew what book you were reading, Phil.
And you had a corner box with either a figure in it or a bunch of heads if it was a team.
Exactly. And, that's Marvel. Everybody did it. It's not like that's, oh, well, that was just that. No, everyone did something. And they they made it clear which number issue you were buying.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the variant covers and the fancy, it's a thing. Anyway, so for those who don't remember last time, Deathstroke ran into the other universe and stranded Batman and Catwoman in the Fortnite universe intentionally because, as we see at the end, the whole thing is Catwoman's like, what if we don't leave? Because, they have to capture Harley Quinn so they get a sense way back. And Harley Quinn's like, I don't want to leave. This is a fun universe. This is good. Why should we leave this universe where we get to be here? And, Catwoman starts thinking, maybe she has a point that, if we go back to the regular universe, we might not be friends. We might not be lovers. We don't know what that world is. Maybe we're married to other people. We might be enemies, but Batman's like, but I feel like I have to because I'm Batman. And they do go back. And Catwoman was like, yeah, I told you. I was right. We should have stayed. Fortnite universe better than the DC universe. Lilith agrees. And then we get the big reveal that the whole plot line of entering the Zero Point was conceived by Lex Luthor and everyone's favorite, Batman Who Laughs, my least favorite. And they're going to open up a new Zero Point portal. Where do you think Lex Luthor is going to open up a Zero Point portal, Phil?
Metropolis?
Oh, not just Metropolis. The Daily Planet.
Yep.
By the way, I love that the controller of the Zero Point is a young African American lady. Just to show you, everybody, you don't put you off your game when you're a rich white man and it's a teenage African American girl who's going to be telling you what the story is. Okay, that was that. Phil, what book did you read this week? I got a lot.
I know. Iron Man number 10?
Iron Man number 10. Oh my gosh, let me dig this one out. Okay, this is the Planet of the Ultimos. What the heck were the Ultimos?
I mean,
I thought that was like something created by AIM.
Well, I think Iron Man fought Ultimo like at least once or twice, and I think he never really knew where it came from. I think the Mandarin used one once, and he was just like, but beyond that, Tony Stark didn't know where they came from. I think he assumed maybe they were from. Did he assume they were from? I don't know, but he never knew like the true origins. Well, here we go.
What's weird is when I see these, you know what they remind me of?
Huh.
Interestingly enough, Machine Man.
Mm.
Which, if you think about Machine Man's original origins and they're tying to the 2001 Space Odyssey comic book, kind of makes sense when you think about it. Maybe Machine Man is an Ultimo in his own way. This is my favorite thing. I love I love Stiltman being the wizard in this. But what I love most about this is he is so designed to look like Philo from UHF. If you've ever watched UHF and you've seen Philo, and I must go back to my home planet now, that is who they designed him to look like. I appreciate that. I appreciate Tony. And honestly, in its own way, it almost seems like it's like the ultimate trap for Tony.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give you peace. We'll give you, wouldn't you like your own farm? And I like that as like, that's the real trap for Tony. What if you just had a normal life without the obligations?
I wonder if
of the world around you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the planet was influencing people, but like Tony, remember he's injured. He was all worried about getting addicted to the morphine. What if there's something on this planet that he's getting addicted to that he doesn't even realize he's getting addicted to?
Well, I think he might just be addicted to morphine, although that morphine's going to run out eventually.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to say when they say, "Well, we're gonna control the morphine so it doesn't affect your brain," it's like morphine kind of just affects your brain. It's like there's probably other more targeted ways you could turn off pain sensors aside from just putting a big old bottle of morphine in the Iron Man suit.
Well, I think he was only, who's going to like, okay, I'll use this for a day or two. And then, once we defeat Korvac, I'll head home and get, fixed. But
yeah. And then they're already 2 days from Tattoo. So it's like, it's weird for them to like acknowledge the idea of distance in space stories, Because normally it's like, well, we'll just teleport there. And for whatever reason they can't teleport there, they have to fly there. And, it's like, okay, now we're sitting for the next 2 days. So that's weird. You know what story I kind of enjoyed? World War She-Hulk Part 1.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's not going to work. Because I think that's part of what we're seeing at the very beginning. So mark my words. When we have Nathan. Is it Nathan Hale? I forget. Or Alan Hale. Gorilla Man. And he's ignoring Tony because he's clogged the arteries of the Space Mountain Sentinel so that he could sneak the red... I don't even know what the She-Hulk is supposed to have done, although I imagine that it was never meant to be anything. Because we see at the very end, the whole point was to put her in the Red Room to brainwash her. But I think it's kind of backfiring by our last scene here with our Red She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's like, And I think part of the point is that we see at the very beginning, as she is talking to Carol Danvers, she is going through apparently what looks to be just transcribed text of New York City. New York City, by the way, unique law regarding contracts and legal contracts and retainers. By the way, they have not killed Ursa Major. Let's all just agree to that right now. Ursa Major will be fine. Yeah. There's a whole thing going around the internet right now that, that one guy that Red Guardian breaks the wrist of?
Yeah.
That was actually Ursa Major. I don't know if that's real. I don't know.
Yeah,
they called him Ursa, which just means big guy. So
yeah, because everyone's like, "Oh, he's the first mutant, MCU mutant."
Yeah, well, I guess it was his tweet. He said his character was called Ursus, and he's saying he's the first mutant. But doesn't make sense that he would do that without someone saying that. Yeah, you can say that's who you are, but it's weird for a minor character to be a character that might come back later and be said to be something, so that's weird.
I think he's just throwing it out there, hoping that all the fans go, yeah, make him Ursa Major, yeah.
That's the thing. That's why what's his name from The Office won't be Reed Richards, because it's like no one does what you want. Because just so you understand, so this is an interesting business thing I'm working with right now, which is like, you can tell people you have to do X, and it's just going to make them say, no, I don't want to do X. But if you say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did X? And then people might say, oh yeah, that'd be cool. And unfortunately for the internet is that people don't know how to say, hey, this is kind of a cool idea. What do you think? We'll be like, oh no, he has to be this, and I will kill people if they don't. And then people say, well, then we're definitely not doing that because we're not going in with that. So, yeah. So sorry, John Krasinski. And to be fair, we don't even know what the story is yet. They want to do a young guy, an old guy, a middle-aged guy. They might want to do a black guy because we already have our Nathaniel Richards. So maybe we don't want to go too crazy with it all. Maybe we still want, maybe we want a blonde Johnny Storm. Honestly, I think they're going to actually get, what's his name, who played the Human Torch, to come and be Reed Richards now. I know he's already done other things, but I just think that would be a cool transfer for the character. So, you know what? Why don't you be Reed Richards now? We don't care. It's all crazy now. We make it up as we go along. Okay, Philip. We got a Hulk. We got a Captain America here. We got a Thor. We got a Sinister War. We got the Spider-Man. We got the Spider-Man Annual. What sounds fun to you?
Well, I was going to say, do you want to do all the Spider-Man stuff as one thing?
Sure, let's talk some Spider-Mans.
Because Sinister War was out this week, and then, what was it, last week the issue was out? So yeah, let's do it all together.
Yeah, and nothing in any of these stories make me not think it is Francis Klum.
No.
Maybe he's working with Mephisto. I don't know. But it's just the whole emphasis on Mephisto. Everybody just lying about. Is Harry Osborn alive? Is he dead? Is a new person? Is Ned Leeds alive or dead? Who is here? Who are any of these people? And it kind of sounds like someone who is really, to put it to you simply, really has it in for Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that is so deep and convoluted that you just got to say, man, does even Mephisto have this much concern for Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
Who did Spider-Man kill that they have plotted this elaborate of a revenge? And that's why I come back to Francis Klum. It's just this idea that, you know what? It's like, this is the guy who had this crazed obsession about Spider-Man. And in his crazed obsession about Spider-Man, maybe that led him to understand who Mephisto was. And Mephisto was always happy to talk about business and pleasure, because his business is pleasure. And so nothing in this makes me not think it's Francis Klum. That's not who Kindred is. And to be fair, Kindred means brother, or at least related to, and Francis Klum was the brother of the person that Spider-Man killed. So maybe there's more to that than that, because obviously Harry Osborn doesn't have a brother.
Or does he?
He actually has probably several clone siblings, and let's not talk about...
Oh, please, you don't think Norman Osborn was
No, he probably has tons of kids. Yeah, he probably has tons of brothers and half-brothers and sisters. For all we know, Francis Klum is an Osborn, quite frankly.
No, I think Kindred is probably Harry Osborn, but they're just like... It's going to be, when Spider-Man made the deal, he just, he basically... I mean, he was already dead, but he damned Harry Osborn to hell and all kinds of other stuff.
No, and actually, you know why that's not true? Because Mephisto makes this exact point to Stephen Strange in this. He's like, I can't just take. Anything I have has to be given freely.
Well, yeah, he made the deal to Peter. He's like, Aunt May was dying. He's like, I can save her aunt, but you're going to give me her marriage if I do that.
Well, Peter said that. Harry Osborn didn't say that.
I know. I know Harry wasn't in on the deal.
What you're doing is you're expanding beyond what the terms of the deal is.
It's like
and
the
that's
butterfly
the point, is that the terms of the deal are the terms of the deal. The terms of the deal is that the Spider-Man marriage ends.
Mm-hmm.
And what never existed. Now, granted, you can say there are downstream occurrences because of that might result in Harry Osborn being alive. But it doesn't mean that Norman Osborn can just put a Harry Osborn, that Mephisto can just put an Osborn on the planet.
Why not?
Magically.
He is magic. How would you say he can't do something magic?
Because he is bound by rule. That's the thing, Phil. Magic isn't just I can do whatever I want. He's not the Beyonder, Phil. As in Star or the Annual makes the point, where again Spider-Man references the Beyonder. Says the Beyonder's probably still in space too. He loves space. And there's a lot of it, as we were saying earlier. He can't just make things from nothing. Mephisto is bound by these weird rules of the universe that says he can only do things within the understanding of a reality of the collective unconscious.
But when the deal went through, Harry Osborn was supposedly dead, so he might have had Harry Osborn's soul.
Dead.
Yeah, he might have.
Lots of people have been supposedly dead, and here's the thing:
he had been supposedly dead for years.
You can go Osborn clone. You can go Osborn reborn by nanites or whatever the goblin serum is now. People can come back from the dead, but to say there is a dead body that is Norman Osborn,
Harry,
plus an active Norman Osborn, and then a third Norman Osborn locked up in a cell.
Harry.
Suddenly you're a little outside of the norm of what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're going to say, well, that's because now the story is that what's his name? The Jekyll had a thing for Harry Osborn too and made clones of him. And that's the point no one has talked about yet. And that's a possibility, but honestly, I think if Spider-Man goes to clones again, it's just, you're not even trying at this point to tell a story. You're just saying, Spider-Man clones, here's some more.
Don't read in the fall.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there's more clones coming.
Oh, Ben Reilly's coming back in the fall.
No, well, Ben Reilly isn't. Ben Reilly is the exception.
Okay.
Ben Reilly, because he's the clone that got its story. If you're a clone that gets a story, it's like Thomas Riker. If you're a clone that gets a story, you're not a trope anymore. Mm-hmm. You're a character in a story. It's like a time travel variant, like Loki. If you come back, you exist, and, whatever you're doing is a thing you do. At least that's my take on it. Yeah. I don't know.
And what did you think about Otto? Is he are those memories there? Is he just fighting it, or?
I think Otto got duped. And I honestly think what's going to happen at the end of this is freaking Maria is going to come to him, record his brainwave patterns at the end, and, then bring back Tolliver with all of his remembrances and memories of everything, and say, okay, now that is all of your connections. Who do you want to be, Otto? And that's my prediction. Mark my words. That's where they're going for with this. I think that Otto, as he is, he just looks like a guy who doesn't know what he's doing, and he is lost because who he is has been taken from him. And that might have been Mephisto's actions. But quite frankly, from Mephisto's perspective, the more he can cheapen the idea of life and death, the more he benefits. So the idea that Otto gets to come back as Tolliver, and that science gets more and more out there, that yes, we can record your memory structures and we can let you live forever.
Or there's technology
that's beneficial to him, because obviously if you get to live forever as a computer program, that means your soul, you're not going to worry about it when you give it away.
Or, we have the technology in this story. People are getting split. Kurt Connors was split from the Lizard. back in 2018 when this whole run started.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see what is the lizard just a monster, or does the lizard have a larger personality, which it might have?
I mean, back in 2018, this machine, when Nick Spencer started his run, Peter Parker and Spider-Man were split in two, and they were both separate entities.
No, and they were, and of course the immediate question becomes. But we also saw in that in being separate entities, each one lacked something the other had, and they kind of became sort of like every time that you separate people in comics, like when Bruce Banner and the Hulk got separate, and the Hulk just became the Hulk as a mindless brute, and Banner just was this weak milquetoast. Immediately realized, no, they had to be together because these beings have to be together. But in perfecting the separation technology, maybe Kurt Connors actually created a lizard that could be a lizard on its own, and could be more than just being the lizard, but also be a sentient, evolved lizard that may not just be the monster held on a leash by Kraven. Because honestly, Kraven, my least favorite Spider-Man villain, better get his hand croqueted by the end of this. That's all I'm saying. Well,
that's the thing. I mean, if they split Otto, is one going to become the superior Spider-Man, and then is Dr. Octopus going to go really dark?
Well, I don't know what they're going to do with him yet, because it hasn't happened yet.
But yeah, if they split the traits, is...
Well, and at the same time, to put it to you very simply, Maria could bring him back in his Otto body, but with Tolliver's memories and his own memories. And then he's Otto Octavius Classic, but he's also, now I remember everything about being the Amazing Spider-Man, or the Superior Spider-Man, and now I remember every choice I made, and everything is clear to me. And maybe he gets to have his own redemption run, or they decide to make him a villain again, just like they keep on doing with Sandman and Rhino and everybody else. Every time anyone they always have that anti-hero redemption arc for a week, and then they go back to being a villain. Although, to be fair, that is capitalism, because, you don't pay anything to be a hero. You still have to pay your bills. Along that line, I do want to talk about Immortal Hulk.
All right.
And the story between Harpy and Joe Fixit. And here we get a nice one where basically She-Hulk is not being controlled or mind controlled, and she can turn back and forth and all that stuff. We see the whole thing with the FF and the Avengers listening in on Jen's story saying, yeah, you go watch from your end, we're going to watch from our end. We ain't letting it go yet. But I did like the Joe Betty thing, and especially this idea that, as Joe says, he left Bruce in hell, but I do wonder what that even means, And it is this idea that, what if like your sense of self is pan-dimensional, and so, yeah, a part of you is shut off from yourself because it's in heck, but at the same time, it's also still a part of you, and that's how they're going to get to the underworld to free Bruce. Could be interesting. I mean, I really enjoyed The Immortal Hulk. It was a very good book this week. What did you think, Phil?
Yeah, I liked it. Trying to remember, because I think it was last week. It was good. Because they went in a lot into, the nature of Joe Fixit. It's like, as a child, Banner.
Well, they've done the thing about the TV show before, yeah.
Yeah, basically creating the image of this tough guy in his head,
Yeah, well, that's it. But then it also is that he wants to evolve beyond it, and maybe that's even the point that we're going to get to at the end. Is like, you know what? You think you have Banner, you don't have Banner. You have the milquetoast. You have the thing that thinks it's Banner, and you know what? Banner is more than just that thing, and that is no more important to us than Joe Fixit or the Hulk or any of us. We're all one thing, and that can never be separated from us. And then you find out that, yes, that was a thing below's goal all along, because now it has the line into the real world. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. Did you read Captain America, Phil?
Yes, I did. Oh, yeah, 30, the last issue of Ta-Nehisi Coates' run, yeah.
Yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates' last run. And it's a talky episode. We get again, a reference to UHF this week. We recorded you saying what you really think about the people that follow you. And they have the intelligence of a festering pool of dog snot. And it's weird seeing Peggy in this, especially because they have Peggy on Bucky's side on this as an art designer. It's like, yeah, I'm still with Cap, Aunt Peggy. They're cool. I'm with Bucky. Got the blondes with the blondes, the brunettes with the brunettes. But I don't know. It just seems weird how they kind of pair them off in this. I think as a concept, maybe they could have done that a little bit differently, but I'll go along with it. Then you have Sin as returned as Mother Superior. That's cool. She's a magic user, so that'll be fun. And that's what Ta-Nehisi Coates left the next writer of Captain America with. He said, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going home. You deal with it. All right.
Do you want to talk any Thor?
Yeah, let's talk Thor. And then we'll briefly do Conan if it's cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this issue of Thor?
It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about like the hammer's like its own sentient thing. But I guess it doesn't want him to be Thor to be king.
Well, what it doesn't want is, and this is the idea, that the hammer wants to fight.
Yeah.
And to fight, you must be a warrior. But the king can't be a warrior. The king must be one who directs warriors. And so, from this perspective, someone else needs to wield Mjolnir at this time until Thor is ready to be a warrior again. But since he is now King Odin, he can't live as a warrior. So this will be the thing. I think that there's going to be, we see that Loki can pick it up, that we know Jane Foster can certainly pick it up. And once it finds the person that'll be its warrior, it'll lock. And maybe it'll be Thor again, because he will make the argument that he can be a warrior king. And that will be his grand release of it. But we'll see what happens with that. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Yes.
I liked that he came to Captain America, and I guess, he sets the hammer down at the end. I'm thinking, well, at least if the Avengers have to move the hammer, Captain America could pick it up.
Well, yeah, because obviously, actually, at this point, logically, anyone can.
Oh, yeah, Loki was holding it, yeah. That would have been funny if Tony Stark tried to pick it up and he still couldn't pick it up. And he'd be like, oh, come on, Loki's picking it up. Come on.
Yeah, Tony Stark isn't ready for it, That's what I'll say with that. Wish I could remember the opening lyrics to the Deathlock song. I'm going to try and figure that out, and I'll do that next episode.
Nice.
And we'll sing the Deathlock song. So, anyway, final thought tonight is Conan the Barbarian. Once again, he escapes from the lands of the East. Because as it turned out, and this was kind of interesting, it turns out the God Emperor actually was a God Emperor. And he just totally kills the guy who killed him. Because you have the whole thing with the Night Tooth and all this kind of thing. And the God Emperor's like, yeah, no, that has no power over me. But essentially we go through this whole thing where he has to out-ninja the ninjas and totally Batman everything, as you do when you're Conan the Barbarian. Because he is the first Batman. And then, the Emperor gives him a ship and treasure and yada, yada, yada. And, maybe we can't come with him because he's not ready to settle down and she's not ready to go on adventures. And they say, great, let's kiss. And then he goes off there. But, it's going to be short-lived because we already see next issue is him in his boat and the storm trying to break it. So it's like, Dang it! Can't Conan get a break?
Never.
Never. All right, Philip. We're going to call that an episode at this point. Could you give us some outro stuff? How can people reach us? How can they buy merch? How can they subscribe to the Patreon? And learn all about our homegrown organic topless movie reviews.
Whoa. All right. So, yes, you can always contact us at capesandlunatics@gmail.com or the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And, yeah, the easiest way to find all our social media, links to merchandise, our YouTube channel, our Patreon, just go to Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics. And also, I mean, if you're in a Patreon mood, go check out the Southgate Media Group Patreon.
And there you go. And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, where our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, just like the show, but with a blog on there, at gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it. Occasionally, Legends of Tomorrow, but not usually anymore. At Charlie Hesser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another episode of Superconnectivity. You have connected with us superbly. Please come back again next week and connect with us again superfluously. Good night.
Good night.
Now we do the dances. It's a trick I learned about dancing. You find the beat, you divide the number by any other number. So long as you move on a divided number, it looks good with the song, no matter how fast or slow it goes.
Anything for math.
Hi, I'm one of the High Priests of Khonshu Ray, and I have the sacred privilege of providing you, the loony listener, with a podcast honouring Marvel's very own Moon Knight. So join me and a host of others at Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or support the show by becoming a Patreon member. Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. It's time to get your Khonshu on.